now we have our global first InnoChef Cooking Show, where we have the most compelling and creative chefs cooking amazing, completely cooked with non-animal protein, delicious dishes. So right now we have Doug McNish, who's joining me right now. So just let's wait a few seconds, but he's joining us right now.
And I'm really excited to have Doug. We already saw the setup, right, that Doug had, everything well prepared. And what did you have for breakfast, Anna, actually?
Oh, so yeah, today breakfast was just some oatmeal and some Brazilian food. So
Nice.
nothing, everything with non-animal protein, non-animal milk, but amazing breakfast. So Doug is here right now. Thank you for being with us today. And I just wanted to congratulate you on your award. You got an award for your book, the best book of 2020 on vegan culinary. So thank you very much, and congratulations on being awarded.
Yeah, listen, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. I actually just found out this week, this is my first book, and it's called The Classics Veganized, and it was just awarded Best Vegan Cookbook in the World for 2020 by the World Gourmand Cookbook Awards. I'm so honored. You know, when you set out to do something, you don't expect anything to necessarily happen, but when you're recognized, it's a truly good feeling. So I am absolutely honored. Thank you very much, Anna. So I am here today as a vegan chef, an entrepreneur, restaurateur, cookbook author, all those sort of names, but someone who really cares, someone who's really trying to make a difference in the world. And I set out doing vegan brunch, plant-based brunch, oh gosh, almost 15 years ago now. And ever since then, it's been a development in progress. I've literally been all over the world doing what I do. I've cooked in Switzerland and Sweden and Australia, the United States, and here at home in Toronto. And I'm so honored to be able to do what I do on a global stage. So first of all, thank you for everyone watching. I truly appreciate it. One of the things that I've always tried to do is recreate eggs. In the plant-based or vegan world, you know, traditional eggs don't really exist. So I set off doing traditional scrambled tofu. I've done scrambled chickpeas. I've done consulting for various hotels and restaurants all over the world. And about 7 years ago, I was like, I'm going to create an egg. And when I was a young chef, I actually learned something called molecular gastronomy. I had a fantastic chef teach me so much about that art. So I started to apply some of that to what I do in my cuisine here in Toronto and abroad. So one of the things I came up with is a vegan egg with a runny yolk. The process I'm going to show you all is actually called spherification. So we're bringing some of El Bulli or Ferran Adria, for those of you know who he is or his restaurant, and I'm bringing some spherification into the plant-based world. And I'm going to be working with tofu as the protein because I know this conference is about proteins, and I like to keep it simple. I love tofu myself, and I use it quite a bit, and I consume it myself. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to show you a few little things. So the first thing I have here is just a big bowl of water. Now this is calcium chloride. Calcium chloride is just a mineral. It's not a chemical. There's nothing crazy about it, just a mineral. So I'm going to get that into my big bowl of water. And what I'm doing here is creating a solution. So what you need to do is just take a whisk and whisk this together. Now, in order for spherification to work, you need two things. You need sodium alginate and calcium chloride. So here's the calcium chloride aspect. We're just going to whisk, whisk, whisk until this is dissolved. Okay, and I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes so it can completely dissolve. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do here is actually create my egg yolk. So when you have something that has sodium alginate in it, and you have a solution of calcium chloride, you can spherify anything. So balsamic vinegar, wine, anything, you can create little pearls or larger spheres, which is what I did for this recipe. So for the yolk part of this recipe, this is actually a few things here altogether. So it's nutritional yeast, okay, black salt, and sodium alginate. There's also a little bit of beta carotene for color. So so the nutritional yeast gives it like almost a rich, creamy mouthfeel. The black salt actually comes from volcanic ash, native to the region of the Andes Mountains. Black salt actually tastes and smells, it has sulfur, so it tastes and smells like eggs. The sodium alginate, which I'll talk about in a sec, that helps set this up. And then the beta carotene gives color. So in my little blender here, I'm gonna add water. And then I'm gonna add my mixture of nutritional yeast, black salt, sodium alginate. That's really all that's in here. I'm gonna get that right into my blender. Now, I have a recipe for this egg yolk in my new book, but I love working with the veg. So this is a ready-made vegan egg yolk powder that you can buy. So in my restaurant projects, I like using that. You can purchase it on your own, or you can get the recipe in my brand new book, The Classics Veganize. So I'm gonna get, sorry, I have to do that, of course. And I am at home in my living room. My 5-year-old son just had his cavities filled and he is in the bedroom. So I'm warning you, he may come out at any time. Okay, I'm just letting you all know that. And I don't know if any of you have had a 5-year-old with cavities that were just filled. He could be cranky. One more thing here, it's swampy today here in Toronto. In Fahrenheit, it feels like 99 degrees and it hasn't stopped raining all day. So I may get a touch bit sweaty as we go. Okay, so we have water and the vegan egg yolk powder, and we're gonna get that into our blender. Nothing fancy here, this is just a Ninja. Okay, and it's gonna get loud for 1 sec. All right, so that's that. So again, you can see the color from the beta carotene, and I know it's difficult over computer. You can see the color from the beta carotene, okay? And I know you don't have smell-o-vision at home. I think Zoom should work on that next. Oh, my apologies, AirMeet should be working on that next. Smell-o-vision, dear AirMeet, okay? And I'll show you this. So what we're left here is almost like a gloopy solution that is just like egg yolks. And that texture comes from the sodium alginate that's present in here. Okay, so we're gonna do something now called spherify. So what I have here is that bowl, that solution that had the sodium alginate and the calcium chloride in the water. And then I have a bowl here of fresh water, okay? So what I'm gonna do is take my little scoop and I'm just gonna pop this right into that solution, okay? The first couple always don't turn out perfectly, but as you get into it, you start creating these little spheres. And these little spheres are actually what are going to become the egg yolk. Just like so. Now this takes a bit of a bit of practice, I'm not gonna lie. I have had a team of sous chefs over the years sort of perfect this. I had one amazing sort of dishwasher porter that worked for me, and she could bang out hundreds in an hour, like hundreds of these things in an hour. Every time I've put this on a menu in various parts of the world, people are like, what? How can you possibly be baking a vegan egg yolk? Well, it really is this simple. So I'm gonna pop those in. And you only wanna let this sit for 2 to 3 minutes. And what's gonna start to happen is the calcium chloride reacts with the sodium alginate and it starts to create a skin on the outside. The longer it sits, the more skin becomes firm and the less sort of runny yolk inside of it. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit for a little bit. What I like to do, if there's any tails here, you can just sort of pinch off the tails at this point, right? And then it becomes a little more round. I know it's difficult to see right now, but I'm gonna show you the finished product right at the end. So I'm gonna let these sit for a couple minutes. Now the next part of this recipe is the white. So I spent years and years doing these eggs. I would just cut a piece of silken tofu into a round and scoop out the center and put the yolk on, and we served it at brunch like that. And it was great. I was on the cover of magazines, and my revenues quadrupled, and the restaurant, all of a sudden, people were like, well, what is this vegan egg? But of course, I had to take it a step further. So I needed to create a white. So this is, again, spherification, but it's a bit of a different way of looking at it. Whenever I veganize recipes, whenever I take a traditional recipe and flip it into plant-based, I like to think of sort of the scientific or the chemical structure of it and apply that same thing into the plant-based world. So egg whites are high in protein, low in fat, they're bouncy, okay? So again, you deconstruct and reconstruct. That's how I sort of like to look at it. So for my whites, I have a few things here. I have some water. And I'm gonna get that right into my blender. And I have just regular firm tofu. Okay, I'm gonna get that into my blender. I have sodium alginate. And again, sodium alginate is what's gonna help give this body, almost give it like the bouncy texture. Sodium alginate is just a seaweed. It comes from brown seaweed, refined brown seaweed. So it's very common. These ingredients are not difficult to get anymore. Definitely Amazon or various local websites in your part of the world will have them. So I'm gonna get that into the blender as well. Okay. And then this, my friends, is actually black salt. So it's the salt that comes from volcanic ash, and it has the sulfur in it, so it actually smells and tastes like eggs. So this is my little secret ingredient. We use this a lot in plant-based brunch recipes when we're trying to make things taste or smell like eggs. So I'm gonna get that in as well. So at this point now, it's very important to blend this, and you want to blend this till the tofu is completely smooth. You don't want there to be any little particles of tofu left at the end. Again, we're trying to replicate an egg white. So egg whites have that smooth body, smooth consistency. So we're trying to do the same thing here. So I'm gonna get this onto my blender, and I apologize ahead of time, it will be loud. When I was growing up here in Toronto in Canada, I had a tickle trunk. I don't know if anyone here is from Toronto. They're familiar with Mr. Dress Up. I was the guy on the block that entertained all the children. I had the costumes. So of course, flash forward, whatever years later, 35 years later, and I'm the one dancing and blending and doing all the funny stuff. So I guess you call me a bit of a vegan ham. So I'm just gonna go back to my egg yolks. They've been sphерifying here. I'm actually gonna place them in a bowl of fresh water. And the fresh water is gonna stop that solution from solidifying anymore. And we're gonna get a nice oozy pop of the egg yolk right at the end. So I'm gonna take these out, and you can see one of them formed pretty crazy here. This is my vegan egg yolk that's like a long strand, but you can pinch some of it off, put it in the solution, and then get it into the fresh water. You can see some of them are long. Yeah. Oh, live internet cooking, isn't it crazy fun? So I'm gonna let those chill out in my fresh water. So I have here just a flat baking sheet, little cookie sheet. I'm gonna take a little bit of that solution, and that solution was the calcium chloride. So yeah, the calcium chloride and the water. So I'm just gonna put a little bit in the bottom of my flat baking pan. And now listen, I'm showing you my tips and my tricks. If any of you use this, you owe me at least 30%, and I will come calling. I want 30%, okay? So I'm gonna let that sit. I have my egg white mixture here, okay? So that's blended up really well. Just gonna grab my ladle. And I'm just gonna make sure, yeah, it works really well. So that's the tofu, the water, the sodium alginate, and the black salt. And you can sort of see here how it's set up a little bit. and that's from that sodium alginate. That's what's helped giving it body. Okay, so I have my ladle. Just gonna set these aside. Now these are the egg yolks I have here. So you can see they've formed into a sphere. And what happens is if you take a fork right now, they're gonna pop. And egg yolk, vegan plant-based egg yolk, is actually gonna run out. It's really cool, okay? I work with a restaurant here in Toronto. There's 2 locations, soon to be 5. And it's actually an all-day traditional breakfast restaurant. And about 1.5 years ago, we formed a partnership, and I put a vegan menu on with the traditional menu. And what happened is the demand at one point last summer, the demand for plant-based brunch exceeded traditional. So we had more platters of scrambled tofu and vegan sunny side up eggs going out than traditional bacon and eggs. And for me, that was like, wow, you know, I've been doing what I do now in the plant-based world for 16 or 17 years, 4 cookbooks, doing all of what I've done. And really, it took up until last year, the year before, to say, holy crap. Like what I'm witnessing, what I'm seeing right now is a real change. You know, dollars speak for themselves. Revenue speaks for itself. So to be able to see that happen has been absolutely amazing. So here's my tofu, my egg white mixture. I'm going to switch this just over. What I'm going to do is take my ladle, okay, and I have a little bit of the mixture inside the ladle, and I'm going to take a vegan egg yolk and just pop it right inside the mixture. So here in this ladle, we have the egg yolk and we have the whites. And what I'm going to do is, again, it's spherification, because we have sodium alginate in here, we have calcium chloride on my baking sheet. I'm just going to lay this out right onto the calcium chloride. Now, I'm going to show you all in a second. At first, it spreads out and it starts to look a little bit big, but within a minute or two, the scientific sort of like the reaction starts to happen, and the egg will start to shrink up, okay? And it'll start to solidify a bit more. So I'm going to do another one here. So again, I have my egg white mixture. My yolk mixture is going right into here. And I'm going to get that right onto the baking sheet like so. I'm going to do one more for you all here. Okay. So there's my ladle, has everything in it, and I'm going to get it right onto the baking sheet. Okay. And what I'm going to do is just make sure that all of this white mixture is touched by the solution, right? Because the solution here, the calcium chloride, is actually what's doing the cooking of the tofu and the water mixture. I first started doing these vegan eggs in 2014. And when I first started doing them, like I said, they were just on the yolks would just rest on a piece of silken tofu that was cut out. And then we seared it on a flat top griddle in the restaurant, and we popped the yolk on top and we'd send it out. And it went on the cover of magazines and people were posting about it. It went on BuzzFeed. I did a video in 2015, I think it was, for an animal welfare organization called Mercy for Animals. And the video went viral. We had, I think within a day or two, we had over 1 million hits. And I used to sell "Kale is the new beef" t-shirts. That was sort of my slogan back then. It was "Kale is the new beef." And I started selling "Kale is the new beef" t-shirts all over the world. Israel, United Kingdom, Australia. I was getting requests from all over. Those t-shirts were so much fun. I know it has nothing to do with vegan eggs. I just wanted to say that I was selling "Kale is the new beef" t-shirts to, you know, daughters of cattle ranchers and these various people all over the world. And they'd say, "Hey, Dad, look what I got." And it would say "Kale is the new beef." And my wife was walking down in Toronto one summer proudly wearing the t-shirt, and someone stopped her and they said, "No, it isn't." It always got a reaction, which is what I absolutely loved about that t-shirt. So the eggs have been setting up here. I can lift one up just to show you sort of what it looks like. See, it still needs just a tiny bit more time. I worked right before coronavirus. I was doing a lot of work with a hotel out in Stockholm, Sweden, and we had these on the menu, and we had people from Stockholm flocking to come and try them, and it was just it was a really cool time. And I'm excited. I don't know about all of you. I'm excited for when coronavirus finally starts to slow down. Here in Canada, we're really just starting to open now. It's been a rough year and a half, but I'm super honored and super proud of the response here and everything that people in this country have done to keep us safe and keep us at home, and just the support we've got from the government. So but I am excited. I want to get back to doing what I do, and that's sharing my love for plant-based cuisine and developing recipes and working with hotels and just showing the world the magic of what you can do with plants. So here the eggs have been sitting. And as you can see, it's really only taken 2 or 3 minutes. I think we had a record. We created about 100 eggs in 20 minutes, give or take. Because I'm an executive chef, I'm always looking at costing. You gotta look at the numbers, my friends. Can't just do the fun stuff, gotta look at the math. Now these eggs are good for an entire day. So without scaling them up, without adding any other crazy sort of ingredients to this, they're good for about a day. So if you are running at a restaurant or a hotel or whatever, you need to create them every morning. But I want to show you now. You can see there are the plant-based eggs. Maybe I can come around to the camera. How's that? How does that look to everyone? Oh, it's difficult, but there we go. You can see they aren't the most pretty ones. I will tell you, we're doing this live on camera, but as you can see, it's a nice soft white, and the yolk actually pops when you poke it with a fork or a knife. You get that runny egg yolk. And I see all the smiley faces. Too funny. I see. That's the money shot there. Always, always, always. Everyone on social media likes to pop the egg yolk, and that's always what gets the biggest reaction. And the cool thing about this recipe, I have seen others do this with yellow tomatoes and other ingredients, and it looks cool. But the thing about this one is it actually tastes like a sunny side up fried egg. So these are actually good. You can poach them in water or steam, or you can actually fry them in oil, and they get a nice crispy exterior because of that protein content from the tofu. So that's my little demo in a nutshell. I wanted to thank everyone for watching, and I want to thank everyone here in the symposium for watching. And again, I'm just announcing, it's such an honor for me. Like, the Classics Veganized is my 4th cookbook with Penguin Random House Canada, and it was just awarded Best Vegan Cookbook in the World. I'm so full of gratitude for that. Honestly, you do something, and I'm a young guy from Toronto who started his career at 15. I'm 38 years old now, and I would have never imagined I'd be doing what I do and just loving it every day. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. You can find more about me on my website, dougmcnish.com. And I'll be hanging out in the symposium all 3 days this week. And then I'll actually be on a table later if anyone wants to talk. I offer a lot of consulting services, menu development, product development, all sorts of things in the plant-based world. And again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you later.